A large fire is burning close to homes in St. George. What we know about the blaze tonight and what's being done to fight it.
A children's author who wrote about grief is charged with aggravated murder for her husband's death. Coming up, the full timeline, including the moment that husband told his loved ones he could be in danger.
Tracking fire and flooding concerns here across the state. What to expect tomorrow with some more storms in the forecast.
A climate-positive winter games, how two organizations are trying to make Salt Lake City's bid for the Olympics better.
They come through this hallway in front of these lockers and this water fountain.
And 40 years after cameras started rolling on this iconic movie,
we just told them that we want to invite him here because the school's going to be gone.
the sense of pride and history remain with one Utah high school and the city that played a bigger role than you might realize.
Live from Utah's news leader, Fox 13 News at 9 starts right now.
We begin with the latest on that fire in St. George. New video into the Fox 13 newsroom shows just how intense the flames were and how far the smoke spread. Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Bob Evans. Kelly is off tonight. The large fire started at about 3 this afternoon near 2500 East Water's Edge, just south of the Virgin River near Mall Drive. The Utah Division of Forestry, Fire and State Land says it is now 100% contained. While about 100 homes were threatened earlier, ultimately there were no structures lost, no injuries, and no evacuations. Officials say federal and state resources will now be released this evening. The cause of the fire is under investigation. Tonight, we're learning new information in the case of a Summit County woman facing aggravated murder charges in her husband's death 1 year before she released a children's book about grief. Fox 13 News reporter Emily Tenser has been looking at newly obtained court documents all afternoon. She breaks down the timeline of this investigation.
Before we get into the details of this case, I want to take you back to 2 months before the alleged murder. According to the search warrant, back in January, Corey Richens logged into Eric's life insurance policy with his business partner and changed it so that she was the only beneficiary. Eric was notified by the insurance company, and he changed his will and life insurance over to his sister. According to the family, he never told Richens that he cut her out of the will. Then, on Valentine's Day 2022, Eric told his family Richens brought him a sandwich, and after one bite, he broke into hives and couldn't breathe. The affidavit says that Eric told his family that if anything happened, she was to blame. Then, on March 4th, Eric died from an overdose of fentanyl. The medical examiner said the level in his system was approximately 5 times the lethal dosage. A year goes by, and Richens publishes Are You With Me?, a children's book about a child grieving the loss of their father. Meanwhile, there's an ongoing estate battle over approximately $3,600,000 between her and Eric's sister. During the investigation, detectives discovered that Richens asked around for fentanyl, specifically, quote, some of the Michael Jackson stuff. She was arrested May 8th and charged with aggravated murder. Richens' next court appearance is scheduled for next Friday, May 19th. Reporting in the studio, Emily Tenser, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Now, not featured in the timeline that Emily just shared with us was back in November, Corey Richens was sued for fraud by a couple who bought a home through Richens' real estate company in 2020. After buying the property, they discovered water leaks, mold, and hazardous levels of fungi. They claimed Richens, quote, knew the truth about the property's condition and never disclosed it. A member of the University of Utah swimming and diving team has been charged with rape. A student told police she met 19-year-old Ben Smythe in her dorm last August. She says he later came to her room and started kissing her. And despite telling him no multiple times, he forced her to perform various sex acts. At first, Smythe denied to police that he knew the victim, but then acknowledged having sex with her. Police say friends of Smythe say he keeps a list of people he's had sex with so he can brag. Soon after being interviewed, police say Smythe returned to his native Canada. Now there's a warrant out for his arrest. The athletic department suspended him from the swim team after learning of the allegations in February. Just into the Fox 13 newsroom, Salt Lake City Councilwoman Amy Fowler is stepping down from her leadership roles and public duties on the council for 30 days. This after apologizing today for being arrested on DUI charges in Springville last week. She told the public during a city council meeting this afternoon that her arrest was an, quote, eye-opening experience, and that it has made her reflect on her relationship with alcohol.
Well, I cannot talk about the details. I am taking responsibility for the situation that occurred last week. And I do want to take a moment to apologize. I am truly sorry that this has affected my colleagues on the council, as well as the mayor, city staff, and the city as a whole.
The Salt Lake City Council stated tonight in part, quote, "We believe it is important to recognize that as humans, council members make mistakes and errors. During this process, we remain committed to transparency and serving the residents of Salt Lake City to the best of our ability." Salt Lake County Mayor Jenny Wilson and the County Council have extended the state of emergency for flooding. The county says with the record snowpack and extremely high rivers and streams, there will be more to do to mitigate the potential for flooding. The county now expects to be on high alert for flooding until at least early July. That is a song we just continue to sing, Allison.
That's right, and it will continue to be a problem, as you said, for many weeks and months to come. Here in Salt Lake City right now, we've got temperature about 60 degrees for Salt Lake and Ogden, so it's somewhat cool out there now that our sun has gone down. 59 degrees in Provo. Across the state right now, many of us close to 60 degrees. And as we look at satellite and radar, we do have mostly cloudy sky here along the Wasatch Front. We'll keep things mostly cloudy tonight. Maybe you'll see a few sprinkles on your windshield, but you'll see a better chance for some storms across the state come tomorrow afternoon. For the Wasatch Front, for the rest of tonight, we're going to keep your temperatures close to about 60 degrees through midnight into the mid-50s for early tomorrow morning. And as you wake up tomorrow morning, mostly cloudy sky for a lot of you here in Utah. Chance for a few showers up towards the Idaho border early tomorrow morning, but a better chance for those to get going throughout the day tomorrow. For the Wasatch Front tomorrow, cloudy. Temperatures close to 65 to 70 degrees for a daytime high. And then we will see some chances for widely scattered showers and thunderstorms developing in the second half of tomorrow, along with a breeze that'll be noticeable here across the state. More on how long these stormy conditions will last coming up.
Allison, thanks. The suspect in a domestic violence murder in February of 2020 has entered guilty pleas. Natalie Thurber was shot and killed in front of police officers when they responded to a domestic violence call at Michael Nance's Salt Lake City apartment. Police say Nance turned the gun on them after killing Natalie. Friends and family describe her as a beautiful person. Nance is scheduled to be sentenced on August 8th. If you or someone you know is experiencing domestic violence, free support is available 24/7. Just call 1-800-897-5465. You can also find resources from the Utah Domestic Violence Coalition at udvc.org. After 20 days of testimony in the Lori Vallow Daybell murder trial, both the prosecution and defense rested their cases today. Court TV correspondent Shanley Painter looks at the final day of testimony and what comes next.
All the evidence is in here in the trial against Lori Vallow Daybell, the mother accused of conspiring to murder her children and her husband's first wife. Today, we learned that the Doomsday Cult mom would not take the witness stand in her own defense. After conferring with her defense attorneys, they informed the jury that her defense would not call any witnesses, saying they feel the prosecution did not prove its case, but that prosecution rested its case earlier after calling 60 witnesses over the past 5 weeks. And according to prosecutors, Prosecutors Lori and her husband Chad Daybell wanted to do away with the obstacles in their way so they could be together. And the jury heard today from the final 2 witnesses who pieced together testimony into a timeline in an effort to show how prosecutors believe Lori knew and participated in the plan to murder her children and Tammy Daybell. And coming up, the jury returns on Thursday for the all-important closing arguments before this case will be in the hands of 12 of those jurors. And a big decision by the judge today. He will allow the verdict to be streamed live online, and of course, we'll have it all Court TV. Reporting in Boise, Idaho, Chanley Painter, Court TV.
Bringing the Winter Games back and the promise that goes with it.
Tracking and analyzing our carbon emissions and then creating a carbon budget.
How putting the climate first could go a long way for Utah's Olympic bid.
It's a tool that we've needed to employ for some time now.
And it's an idea to cut congestion in Utah's Cottonwood Canyons. The push for toll roads and the downside if that does happen.
Aiden Long was tied for the lead with 3 holes to play, but then her birdie putt started to drop. We'll have the highlights from the 6A State Championship.
We are learning more about an active shooter scare that took place last evening at the Valley Fair Mall in West Valley City. Police say a 15-year-old was with 2 other teens when he allegedly shot a 25-year-old man. All 3 suspects are in custody. The victim is expected to recover. Police say it was an isolated incident. After the shooting, parents contacted Fox 13 News saying their children were hiding in the mall. Child psychologist Dr. McCall Lyons says when talking to your children about traumatic situations, what we say is often less meaningful than how we say it.
Being with your child, being calm, being affectionate in those moments, letting them ask questions and letting the child have any big feeling that they might have, and letting the child know you're going to do your best to keep them safe.
She says the most important thing a parent can do is be with their child and listen to their concerns. West Valley City Police have released body camera video of last month's officer-involved shooting near Redwood Road. We want to warn you, these images may be disturbing. On the night of April 20th, an officer tried to stop a driver suspected of DUI heading north on Redwood Road. The driver tried to turn onto SR 201 but went over a curb and into an embankment. Shortly after the officer exited the vehicle, the suspect pulled out a weapon, leading to an exchange of gunfire.
Everybody else inside the car! No one else. The car has not been cleared! No one's in the wind!
The suspect was wounded and is now recovering. The officer is on paid leave as the investigation continues. Progress on the West Davis Highway continues, but it may take a bit longer to finish because of trespassing in work zones. UDOT tells Fox 13 News they've had multiple instances of trespassing connected to the project. There has been vandalism and people using incomplete trails and roads. That has caused damage. The crews have had to go back and fix before they can get back on schedule.
It may look like it's fun to go out there and drive around on our embankments and fills and in the center medians, but it causes a lot of damage that causes rework to be done, and that costs money.
UDOT expects the highway to be open next spring. Now to the Olympics. Salt Lake City is pulling out all the stops to win an Olympic bid for 2030 or 2034. Fox 13 News reporter Jenna Bree shows us what a climate-positive Winter Games could look like.
This is really the blueprint for a better future, and it's going to improve our quality of life before the games, during the games, and well after the games.
Utah Clean Energy is partnering with the Salt Lake City, Utah Committee for the Games to show the International Olympic Committee that Utah can achieve a climate-positive Winter Games.
This includes things like tracking and analyzing our carbon emissions and then creating a carbon budget to figure out how do we reduce those emissions. It includes like things like making our buildings ultra energy efficient and even zero energy for the facilities that are going to be hosting the games. It includes things like electrified transportation and reducing emissions from that sector.
In a statement, Fraser Bullock, president of the Committee for the Games, wrote, quote, "The effects of climate change on the Winter Games and our state cannot be ignored, and we need to take bold action today to ensure Utah remains a world-renowned winter sport destination for future generations."
Climate change is impacting our lives right now, and it is certainly impacting winter sports. So it's really incumbent upon all of us that care about, particularly Utah's winter sports, to make sure we're doing everything we can to turn the tide on climate change.
The International Olympic Committee likely will not pick the hosts for the 2030 and 2034 Winter Olympic Games until next year. Reporting in Salt Lake City, Jenna Bree, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Funny to be talking about. Yeah, I showed you yesterday, and I'm sorry we can't put it on the air, a picture of the snow on our picnic table in the backyard 1 month ago.
Yes, Bob sent that picture to me as like a direct message last night, and I was like, is this from a ski resort today? I was so confused about where that came from.
Backyard.
He said it was their backyard 1 month ago. What?
Pull it up for later? Or no?
I'll pull it up for the 9:45 weather segment.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Okay.
All right. Here are your main weather headlines for today, though. We are still continuing to track some river flooding. We have nice spring temperatures in the forecast the rest of this week. And then we're going to head into a warming trend. Things will likely get pretty hot here through the next 2 weeks. Let's go ahead and chat about all of our flooding concerns, though. We do have flood warnings for the Bear River at Corinne until further notice. Cache Valley and aerial flood watch, not aerial like a view from above, but aerial spread out. Flood watch along the Little Bear River below Hiram Reservoir. That's through Friday afternoon. We have a new flood advisory for Blacksmith Fork River near Hiram until further notice. Into eastern Rich County, flood warning along the Bear River. That's through next Monday. Down towards Huntsville, flood warning for the South Fork of the Ogden River. Over towards Plain City, a flood watch for the Lower Weber. East of Moab, a flood warning from McPhee Reservoir to the confluence with the Colorado River. That's going to go until Saturday. That was set to expire today at 6 p.m. They've extended that through Saturday now. And then Sevier River down towards Panguitch and Hatch. That is a flood warning until further notice. Here in Salt Lake City right now, 62 degrees, full visibility. We have temperatures across the state right now for many of us close to 60 degrees and mostly cloudy sky in the forecast for this evening. Wind has calmed down significantly here across the state. We've got a few sprinkles out there through central Utah, northern Utah, also the chance for a few sprinkles in the windshield tonight, but better chances for some storms to return tomorrow afternoon. And it's not a great chance for most of us here along the Wasatch Front. For Provo, you're this blue line. You're going to see a little peak about 3, 4, 5 o'clock tomorrow, potentially getting to some numerous showers and storms. So it's after lunchtime tomorrow through about 6 p.m. is when you're going to see that best chance. For Salt Lake, we're tracking some isolated storm chances starting at about 9 a.m. throughout the day. For tomorrow morning here across the state, Wednesday at 6 a.m., most of us close to 45 to 55 degrees tomorrow morning. Cloudy sky, windy tomorrow, a little breezy here across the state. And we also have the chance for those widely scattered showers and thunderstorms. Primarily, Utah County is your best chance. As we look at St. George, your temperatures tomorrow making it into the mid 70s, but close to 60 when you wake up. Chances for storms across the state tomorrow, and we'll also have some breezy conditions returning for your Wednesday here across the state, about 15 to 30 miles per hour. St. George 77 tomorrow, closer to 90 degrees Friday through early next week. And for the Wasatch Front, we're close to 70 degrees Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Closer to 80 degrees this weekend into next week. We'll take a look at your 2-week temperature outlook coming up later in the hour. And I'll also show you that picture from Bob's backyard from a month ago as well, coming up at 9:45.
I can hardly wait to see it again. Thanks, Allison. Coming up, the Monopoly Man took a stroll down Main Street in Park City today. We'll explain why. A teacher at Jim Bridger Elementary in West Jordan got a big surprise today. Christy Giles teaches 5th grade, And as part of Teacher Appreciation Week, she was given $750 in school supplies courtesy of Walmart. It's in honor of her 25 years of passion and her dedication to helping students reach their potential.
I love coming and teaching. I love being in the classroom with the kids. They bring joy and happiness in my life. To be recognized is, I don't know, it makes my heart feel good.
Christy, we need more teachers just like you. In addition to the supplies, Walmart also gave her a Walmart Plus membership. The divisive yet enduring classic board game Monopoly is getting a Park City-themed makeover, and the makers want your suggestions on what that should look like. Top Trumps USA, the company behind special editions of the board game, announced the Park City edition today, which is set to be released early next year. Park City residents are asked to submit ideas for landmarks and local hotspots they would like to see featured in the game.
Whether it's restaurants, landmarks, ski resorts, mountain peaks, trails, your favorite little dive bar, your favorite steakhouse, we want all those things to be on Park City edition of Monopoly.
You have until June 20th to email your ideas to parkcity@toptrumps.com.
Teens busted for bopping.
It's such like a big famous thing.
And a girl holding out for a hero.
We all thought he was cute.
40 years ago, Utah became the setting for a movie about canceling dancing.
It's fun to see scenes in your own city on the big screen.
I'll tell you what's changed, what's still standing.
Kind of a time capsule.
And where the spirit of Footloose is alive and well.
It would be awesome for me to meet Kevin Bacon.
Footloose, 40 years later. Coming up next.
It's one of the greatest stories of all time. A boy just wanting to cut loose.
He's the new kid in town, and the music's on his side.
A girl holding out for a hero, and mostly, it's a story about dancing.
Let's dance!
Footloose. Paramount Pictures presents Footloose.
On May 9th, 1983, in the state of Utah, principal photography began on the movie Footloose. And since then, 40 years later, many of the places are still around and many of the people that helped on its production are still here. So we wanted to see what it was like 40 years later. The one most people know, Lehigh Roller Mills, still sits today at the exact same spot and looks exactly the same as it did 40 years ago.
First of all, when that movie came out, I was 13. And I fell in love with Kevin Bacon. Who didn't?
Sherry Cutler does marketing for the Mills, and now one of her favorite teenage movie experiences has come full circle.
And be involved with the mill later on in my older years.
While scenes were shot here, the big prom finale scene was not.
They had that dance, and they came and they looked at the facility, and they made it seem like the dance was done here.
Right.
And so there's bits and pieces that they did film here, but majority of it was done down the Payson High School.
I really look wherever you want to go.
That wasn't all that was shot here. All the scenes of Beaumont High School are actually Payson High School.
The structure is absolutely the same in most cases. You know, it's just fun. It's just fun to walk through the same halls and think about, you know, how that all played into what was going on in the film.
This is Jenny Staley.
I'm the student council advisor at Payson High.
With all this Footloose history, her and her council students, Ruby and Nick, get into it.
I didn't know anything before I watched the movie. Like, I just was just a classroom, it was a hallway, it was whatever.
That's why it's fun to watch the movie.
In the movie, he comes out and he's standing in the hall and he talks to Ariel, and every time I come out that door, it's like, oh,
that's my lunchroom, that's where I eat lunch. Or
one of the scenes is they come through this hallway in front of these lockers and this water fountain. Kevin's got his, Walkman playing, and Willard has the headphones on, and they're doing the little dance.
Like, I know that hallway from the movie. Like, watching in the movie, I'm like, yeah, I walk past that every single day.
And there's one more thing still here. Yes, Wren's locker he spent so much time at is still here and marked with a plaque on the inside. It's a history the school is proud of with all its connections.
I was a senior at Payson High School, and they announced that Paramount Pictures was going to be doing a film.
As a senior in high school, Stacy Measam was asked to be in the movie.
The Time magazine that my grandpa looked in, and suddenly that's Stacy in there.
She was a part of the high school cheer team that shot an elaborate dance routine with Kevin Bacon. But alas...
Then when the movie comes out, they cut us. So I was like, man, but it's okay because it was still really fun.
She did get some keepsakes.
Were you a little starstruck when you went to go take that picture?
Yeah, we all thought he was cute.
And despite the scene being cut, Stacy did make it in more than once.
Told everybody to go sit around the table, so of course me and my friends went to where we thought we'd be able to be seen good. And then the next day they said, "Okay, everybody get in your exact same spot." Well, the cameras were turned the other way. Well, we went around and got over on the other side. So you can see that, and you can kind of see us, and then you can kind of see us again the other way.
Everywhere you look in Payson, you'll realize most of the movie was shot there.
This is the real Payson Council chamber.
Yes.
But it was used in the movie, correct?
It was. In fact, that podium, I think, is the same podium.
Mayor Bill Wright is proud of that fact.
Payson's a great place. You know, I was born and raised here. I just like to have the city get the notoriety that it deserves.
He knows the movie well since he was a first responder on set during a famous dance scene where Kevin's stunt double was practicing.
Where they had anchored the rope was up in the rafters, and they hadn't noticed that every time he swung on that, it was being cut by one of the rafters. He swung on it, it broke, and he fell.
Thankfully, he was okay. But another connection to the mayor, well, it happens when he joined the police department. His police car was also used in the movie to pull over Wren's yellow VW.
I said, yeah, I know about it. That was my car. And they said, oh, it wasn't either.
And speaking
I did, yeah, it was. And
of that car,
I bought this from a friend of mine.
Vernon Marshall actually owned it.
Director, he asked if we knew anybody that had a yellow Volkswagen, and I said, yes, I do. And he said, oh, go get it.
Even if a little work was needed to get it in the film.
And they had to cut the headrest out.
So that they could film?
So they could film. I thought, well, they'll just have a few scenes, but it was in quite a few.
I was
a few of those scenes. Douglas Lamb,
the guy that was filling up the car,
is in the background.
At the gas station. That was me.
And he loves to point himself out, too.
I was unemployed. And I got a call from the employment office that says they need an extra. I told everybody. I called all my friends and all the neighbors.
So 40 years later, there's a lot that's changed, but a lot that stayed exactly the same.
It's fun to see scenes in your own city on the big screen.
There is somewhat of a sad ending to this story. Back at Payson High School, the countless memories on the silver screen and beyond are about to come to an end.
As old as it is, as technologically behind as it is, all of the things that are wrong with it, you know, it's just something that people are really attached to. There are a lot of people that are just really sad to see it go.
The school will be torn down and replaced after next year, but students are leading a charge, creating the hashtag #BaconToPayson. For a special goal involving the Bacon himself.
Well, we just wrote him a letter this morning. We just told him that we want to invite him here because the school's going to be gone. So we want to have him come commemorate with us.
Our main goal, we really would love to get Kevin Bacon to come to our prom next year for 2024.
That would make all the students here, and maybe Jenny's too.
Oh, it would be awesome for me to meet Kevin Bacon, yes.
And to make sure Payson's ready for his return.
I'm totally for dancing.
Yes.
Not against dancing.
I used to like to dance, but I can't do it anymore.
Everyone is for dancing.
I'm lucky to stand up, let alone dance.
So next time you put on the classic movie and watch your favorite scene, remember, without the state of Utah, Payson, the high school, and many, many people along the way, there would be no Footloose. And that's every reason for everybody to cut loose.
He's got to come for prom next year.
Oh, sure, yeah. And I'm sure he will. He is a great guy. I mean, involved in charity. You know, he has his own band, too.
Yeah.
The Bacon Brothers.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yes,
Maybe he can
yes.
perform at prom for a song
Wouldn't
next
that
year.
be great?
That would be amazing.
Kevin, if you are watching, we need you here in Utah to celebrate Payson High School going out and this great landmark in movie history right here in Utah.
How cool. That and East High with High School Musical. We're so fortunate here in Utah to have so many great memories.
And Lehigh Roller Mills?
Still there.
Still there. All right. Thanks so much. Well, coming up, there's a job opening on Utah's Capitol Hill, and it's centered around saving the Great Salt Lake. We'll look into the new position and how interviews are going. Plus, a look at the water situation in central Utah, how the unprecedented snowpack is impacting farmers after a long drought. And we have new details on UDOT's plan to impose tolls in Big and Little Cottonwood Canyons. We'll be right back. Utah is hiring for a very important position. The state is looking for someone to oversee efforts to help the Great Salt Lake. Governor Spencer Cox, Speaker Brad Wilson, and Senate President Stuart Adams met with candidates today for the new Great Salt Lake Commissioner position. That person will coordinate multiple state agencies and will have the authority to override them to protect the lake.
We have a dozen or so different government entities that all touch the lake, work on the lake, but there had been nothing until this legislation requiring all of them to collaborate and work together. And that's what this commissioner will do, is quarterback that, make sure everyone's singing from the same sheet of music so that ultimately we have confidence in the plan for the Great Salt Lake and we're successful.
An announcement on who will be the new Great Salt Lake czar could come by the end of this week. The candidate will need state Senate confirmation before getting to work. Irrigation sprinklers are watering farm fields in central Utah as runoff water gets diverted from the mountains, 12 Mile Creek, and into the Sandpitch River. This is the scene in Gunnison, where the reservoir has more water at just a third full than it has had in years. The last couple of years, it has run dry.
We've had anywhere from 16 to 30% of our normal flows. It's so nice to see green field. It's been a long time since everything has been green.
There has been a lot of preparation to use all the water coming down from the melting snowpack. Well, coming up, a 36-year-old North Ogden man says he is lucky to be alive after suffering a stroke last year. Why doctors say they're seeing more strokes in younger adults. And an Ogden restaurant owner has been honored by Weber State University. Why he says he's living the American dream.
Do Utah lacrosse players feel the love and respect from others in their student body after qualifying for the Nationals for the first time ever? And what back nine at the 6A Girls State Golf Tournament? 4 players were in contention, but one pulled away from the pack. The highlights are on the way.
To deal with traffic congestion at the ski resorts in Big and Little Cottonwood Canyons, UDOT is planning to impose tolls in the canyons. Executive Director Carlos Braceras says they plan to roll it out by 2025 with increased transit service.
The way to make mass transit work is really about targeting those high volume locations. So really, this is about the ski resorts.
Meanwhile, UDOT continues its evaluation of a potential gondola to get traffic up and down the canyon. While they oppose the gondola concept, the head of Save Our Canyons says they support a toll, but they do worry about people shifting their recreation spots. May is National Stroke Awareness Month, and doctors with Intermountain Health Care, or Intermountain Health as they go by now, say they are seeing more young adults having strokes. Brad Coleman of North Ogden is a 36-year-old father of 4 and a stroke survivor. Last October, he noticed his speech was slurring and he was experiencing confusion while his wife was driving them to one of their daughter's soccer games. His wife, Melissa, wasted no time and took him straight to an ER near their home. Paramedics ultimately took Brad to McKay-Dee Hospital in Ogden.
He had a thrombectomy. They went up through his groin, through his heart, up into his brain, and actually removed the clot.
From the moment I had my first symptoms until the clot was out was a total of 90 minutes.
Brad left the ICU 3 days later with no physical limitations. Dr. Michael Webb, an interventional radiologist at McKay-Dee, thinks one reason they're seeing more strokes in young adults is because COVID-19 causes an increase in blood clots. 154 years ago tomorrow, the Transcontinental Railroad was completed with the driving of the Golden Spike at Promontory, Utah. Chinese immigrants comprised most of the labor force that built that railroad, but weren't even pictured when the work was complete. The late photographer and activist Corky Lee wanted to honor their sacrifice and went in search of Chinatowns all along the transcontinental route, especially here in Utah. Now an exhibit honoring Lee's work entitled Making History has opened at the Chinatown Supermarket in South Salt Lake. It was created by Lee's partner, Karen Zhou, whom I spoke with today. She became emotional when talking about Lee's contribution to the world.
He said that he used the camera as a sword to fight injustice and difference and discrimination. And that was the focus of his whole life. He saw photography from an activist's eye. And so that's how he saw what was unfair, unjust.
The exhibit opened just this evening at the Chinatown Supermarket in South Salt Lake, and there it is. There are the dignitaries there taking pictures. It will be there until October, and admission is free. A restaurant owner in Ogden was honored by Weber State University today for giving back to his community and for being a shining example of the American dream. Javier Chavez runs one of the oldest restaurants in Ogden. His energy is infectious. He came to Weber State from Zacatecas in Mexico in 1977 on an athletic scholarship for distance running. He later opened the restaurant and has been active in the community ever since. So Weber State honored Javier for his commitment today.
The president called me and said, Javier, we are going to honor you and Dr. Degree. Oh my God, I feel so, it couldn't be for me. I mean, being a farmer, coming from Mexico, an immigrant, very proud.
Javier hopes to inspire people and continue to grow his business to feed as many people as possible. You go, Javier.
Love that story. Well, this is the picture, as promised, of Bob's backyard almost exactly 1 month ago, you said?
Yeah, April 11th was when we took this picture.
Now, well, you'll understand when you see how many tables there are that I was very confused at what I was looking at. I was like, is this a ski resort or a private residence?
Or Bob's backyard.
Or Bob's backyard. So 1 month ago, now it looks like spring. It feels like spring. If you wanted to do some planting, we've got warm temperatures in the forecast, so you've got the green light there. 62 degrees here in Salt Lake City, 63 in Ogden, 59 degrees currently in Provo. The rest of tonight and tomorrow morning, mostly cloudy here along the Wasatch Front. And then we will see a chance for some showers and thunderstorms second half of tomorrow. So maybe not the best day for a motorcycle. It's going to be a little breezy tomorrow, and we've got the chance for some thunderstorms to develop. Flooding concerns do remain. Our mid-elevation watersheds are running fast, cold, and high. So please use caution near all running water, especially with pets and kids. And then we head into the next couple of weeks, and that will continue likely to be a problem for quite a while longer. Mostly cloudy sky tonight here across the state. A few sprinkles out there. Wind out of the northwest for northern Utah, wind out of the south for southern Utah. We've got a chance for a few showers near the Idaho border come tomorrow morning, but many of us waking up on a Wednesday about 35 to 45 for our mountains, but most of our valley locations looking at about 45 to 55 degrees for tomorrow morning. Wednesday at 5 p.m., we are close to 60 to 70 degrees here across the state. Tomorrow across Utah, 70 for Salt Lake, Park City 59, Moab 78, St. George 77. Chance of precipitation for Ogden tomorrow, widely scattered, isolated through the rest of the work week and into the weekend. And for Provo, tomorrow, scattered to widespread chances for Utah County. So that's going to be our best shot at some showers and thunderstorms second half of the day tomorrow. And then you'll see just continuing chances throughout the 7-day forecast. Low, but pretty existent through each day. For St. George, likely dry through the rest of this work week, with some more chances potentially returning late this weekend. St. George, 77 tomorrow, 83 on Thursday, close to 90 degrees Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday next week. For Salt Lake, widely scattered storms for tomorrow, 70 degrees through Friday, closer to 80 this weekend. Temperature trend for week 2, the 17th through the 23rd, above average temperatures likely returning to us here in Utah.
Lone Peak freshman Sadie Wagner had a one-shot lead going into the second round of the 6A Girls High School Golf State Championship. But 4 other players were in contention in the final round. Lily Shin of American Fork, Remy Rollins of Weber, and Aiden Long of Lone Peak, who finished second to her sister last year as a freshman. All 4 had a share of the lead at some point during the back 9, but the 2 Lone Peak players pulled ahead. Wagner with a birdie at 14 to tie Long for the lead at 1 over par. But then Aiden went on a run to close out her round. After missing good birdie chances on the previous 3 holes, Long made a birdie at 16 to take a one-shot lead. She also made a birdie at 17 and then on the 18th hole. Long rolled in her 3rd birdie in a row to shoot a 68 to win the individual state championship at 2 under par, 3 shots ahead of Wagner, who also led Lone Peak to back-to-back state championships. Aiden was a double winner.
I don't think I've ever been that emotional throughout like a 6-hole stretch, and just the nerves that I felt and that I had to like push aside were just crazy. Like I've never felt that way during a golf round. It was crazy.
How big was that at 16 to finally see one drop in?
It was just so good. It was actually surreal. Like I was so nervous over it, and I just was like, all right, just make a good putt. And then it finally dropped, and then the last 2 dropped too, and they fell at the right time. Last 3 holes, it's a good finish.
Yes, it was. The Utah lacrosse team has qualified for the NCAA championships for the first time in program history. They'll play at Notre Dame in the first round on Saturday. This is just the 5th season of lacrosse at Utah, so it's a new sport at the U, where a lot of teams have had success recently. I asked the team captain what reaction Utah lacrosse players are receiving on campus.
It's been interesting, honestly. Since being so new, people are like, oh, we have a lacrosse team. Or they think I'm on the club lacrosse team. But yeah, it's been super cool being able to play in the stadium, seeing banners on campus of marketing and trying to get people to the games has been super cool. And classmates obviously supporting, which has been awesome.
I think that we've kind of been under-respected as a Utah program with all the success of the ski team and the football team, women's volleyball and all that, women's basketball. And I think this is really good for us to kind of show the rest of our school that, we're a top player too, and we can compete with anyone in the country. So it's been pretty cool and pretty rewarding to show everyone that we can do that.
Yeah, Utah lacrosse is here. We'll be right back.
We are out of time. QuickCast is next.